Okay, today's video, we're going to talk about how to pick the right negative keywords for your PPC campaigns that will literally, physically, actually guarantee you an increase in profit every single negative keyword you do, and every time you do it, your task of adding negative keywords to your account. A lot of people know what negative keywords are, some don't. If you don't, that's the words you enter to block out certain people from your search campaign. So if people are looking for buy a franchise and you notice that's your keyword, some people are typing buy a cheap franchise in the search terms report, which is where you go to add negative keywords or at least figure out where to do it. You know your franchises are not cheap. You take the word cheap, well, respectively, just oversimplifying this, and add it to your negative keywords list to block any searches. You know, the idea being anytime from now on someone adds the word cheap with buy a franchise, your ad will no longer show up for those type of people, but for everybody else that does not use cheap, you'll still be eligible to show. Okay? So that's negative keywords in a nutshell. I'm going to tell you the absolute best method that I have for doing it based upon, 10 plus years of doing negative keywords and really weeding down the best process for the hundreds of clients that I've had here, of which, like the label says, actually guarantee you the decrease in cost per conversion or decrease in cost per sale or raise an ROI that you want out of your campaign, ultimately from wasting your time, if you will, doing this activity for your business. So you aren't guessing. A lot of times what you think will work with the negative keyword sometimes won't work at all. It actually hurt your account. And by the way, anytime you make changes in your Google Ads or Bing Ads account, but especially with Google, I don't care how good the change is. The Google's ad algorithm hates change. Any change you make will negatively affect your results short term. And then the algorithm's going to have to learn how to recalibrate your ads to fit in with all the rest of the ads. And when they know the results on your competitors' ads and don't know yours short term because you made a change, you won't show up the way that you were. And you'll actually be penalized, in terms of what you're paying as well for a click, like you were as per what you were before. It doesn't have to be long term, but the bigger the change, the more you're going to be affected, basically. Okay, and so the long story short, if you are going to actually make a change, you want to make darn sure. It's like the carpentry thing. They say if you're going to build a house or build something out of wood, you measure twice and then you cut once, meaning you don't want to waste material. It's easier to measure twice than cut once, than cut twice and measure once. So when you make a change, it doesn't matter what it is, negative keywords being, a bigger one or big one in general, make sure you know the negative keyword that you're going to add is actually going to help your results. Otherwise, you're going to add it, you're going to get negative, a downward, your results are going to go down for a little bit just because you made the change. And then if it's not better, you're going to have lose money because of that, and then you'll have to eventually, if you ever do catch on, and this isn't permanent, you realize it wasn't what you wanted to do. Which the part of the premise of making this video is you don't even know when a negative keyword you screwed up on it. But if you do actually find out, which most of the people don't know when they did the wrong negative keyword, now you got to remove it, and now there's additional volatility in your results because you removed it. So you're going to get hit 3 times versus get hit once to get when you add the negative keyword, actually get a big improvement for what you're doing, and it'll easily make up for the short-term volatility and you're having made a change in your account. And so when you go into adding negative keywords in the future, you're guaranteed to only have one of those things happen for you, and so little in comparison to the gain you will get every single time that it's always going to be worth it. If you don't want a lot of volatility in your results because you rely on a certain amount of volume in your business in terms of leads or sales from your PPC campaigns coming in, as a site I recommend don't doing all your negative keywords at once. You can add just a few, 10, 20, 30, at a time. Whereas when you start to do this, you may want to add hundreds, if not thousands, if you really go to town with this, understanding how big of an impact this can do for you. The more you add, the more the volatility and negative down, your results going down short term. Of course, even though if you do add them all at once, you'll take the biggest hit short term, but you'll get to the improvement that you have overall that you need shorter term. So it's up to you. If you're not making any money, maybe just go to town with it. But if you are making good money and you are on tight margins, you do it in stages. That goes for any changes, by the way. So anyway, though, I'm going to tell you exactly my method for doing negative keywords, how that's going to guarantee your results, and how to do this the right way, given you probably have a strategy. This will actually do better than what you have, almost for certain. Of course, this is not what you're doing already, then it won't be the case, but this will automatically be better than what you have, because of my experience and time in business doing PPC and negative keywords. If you have a better way, you can prove me wrong, you can leave a comment sharing how or why. Yeah, everyone basically, quote unquote, thinks they understand how to do negative keywords for their PPC accounts to gradually weed out the poor quality searches, which are, bleeding your account money to pay for people to click on your ads that have no potential of buying what you have, or they're not buying from what the keywords that your ads are showing up for, or search terms that they are showing up for at a rate high enough to justify the cost of what Google's charging to get that visitor and after all your expenses. So whereas everybody kind of knows how to has their own way of doing this, nobody knows really how to do it in a mathematical, formulaic way in which will actually promise to get you the results, like I said, instead of risking short-term volatility in your account for something you don't know what works. And even worse, is there for the next 10 years because you never realized what you did was wrong in the first place. They don't have an actual way to judge even if what you did was right or wrong and come back to it to actually check. My way that I'm going to show you here, you don't have to come back and check. You'll know 100% for sure when you do it was the right way, before you have to change anything at all or risk having to change something. So, of which I'm going to share with you here today what that methodology is that will guarantee your increase of results, and do it every time. So here's my signature process of telling exactly what negative keywords to add to your account and actually get the fullest benefit at the same time from the potential of overall adding negative keywords. So you get the most blockage and of course at the same time guaranteeing every one that you add, and I do mean every single one, will get you an increase in ROI from the keywords and ads that you already have running today. So, getting into it, number one in the 6-step simple process that I have is you're going to set a time frame in terms of the time frame in the upper right-hand corner of your account to the maximum time frame that represents the longest time tracking was actually verified and working on your account. So basically, if you don't have tracking set up on your account to track, at least cost per lead, if not cost per sale, if not ROI, which you should have minimum that set up already if you're going to take PPC serious. That's what you do first of all. Assuming that you have that set up now, you're not going to be able to use this method, or shouldn't, I would say, use it. You're not going to be able to get the results I'm giving you out of it until you've had the tracking set up. This is why I stress tracking so much, because almost all of these methods I give you, it's predicated on being able to see what works and what hasn't, and more importantly, what's worked in the past to make future judgments on how to actually improve, so you're not, or as little as possible, guessing. Little as time as possible guessing. So set up the tracking if not, and then come back in 3 months if you've had tracking set up. Okay, of course, you should, if you've seen any of my other videos, I also say you should know what you need in terms of an ROI on your campaigns or a cost per conversion before you actually start taking PPC serious as well. If you're generating leads, you have to know how many leads it takes to get a sale. What's a sale worth? Therefore, what you could pay for a lead, you have to back it all out. Also, so that when you make adjustments, such as adding these negative keywords here that I'm going to show you, that you also know which ones to add and how, and actually can use this system. So you got to know where the profitability point is for your account. Is it $8 in revenue through your cart for every $1 in ad, to where your bare minimum paying all your costs for the product and the ad spend and everything else? Is it 6 to 1? And in cost per lead, are you making money at $50 a lead, or does it have to be $30 a lead? What does it have to be? So if you have that and you have at least 3 months worth of data, or at least 1,000 clicks, then you're going to open the search terms. And going back to this, by the way, so if the tracking's been working though more than 3 months, let's say it's been working for 2 years, where your tracking was verified to have worked for 2 years, well, you're going to set the time frame as 2 years to get the maximum amount of data to do this method here and get the maximum benefit from it. So when your time frame is set correctly, open the search terms report to look for all campaigns keywords. So all the search terms during that time frame from all search campaigns, basically. You're going to look for past search terms that represent good candidates for future removal or adding as a negative keyword itself, as you normally would do when you go ahead and do your normal negative keyword addition. So you normally are going to go under the search terms report to see what phrases triggered your ad, and then you're going to find obvious ones. So the average person is going to say, oh, my product's not free, so I'm going to add the word free to my negative keywords list. By the way, all those words like free and stuff, if you don't have a master list that you can add right away, I can give you one, but you should definitely have a master, and there's different ones online, 300 or so terms like the word free, trial, software, all these things that normally will work for any company or work for every company with a couple terms removed. Add that right away. Otherwise, you're paying a bunch of money to add negative keywords, which you could have thought of adding in the first place. So that will get you, so you don't have to bleed so much money up front until your ads work. PPC, it's not a matter of if PPC will work, it's a matter of when. If you know what numbers you have to hit with your campaigns going in, and you have a way to see if you can hit it, it's just a matter of finding out the 80% of your account that's not going to produce that and waiting it out. And with the tracking, you can. Ultimately, you can also tell Google you're willing to pay less for a male versus a female, and based upon what a male is worth to be able to generate the exact ROI or cost per lead that you're looking for, you can adjust your bid down. So where you are starting to get it, whereas you weren't getting it before, you will from that point on, once you see how well male versus female converts, also the times of the day and what each one of those are worth, the times of the week, what each one of those are worth, what state the user's in, or zip code, because each one performs differently. So you ultimately end up with the maximum amount of sales you can get from PPC while still hitting your target cost per conversion or cost per sale, or i.e. ROI that you need from the campaign at the same time. So maximum sales while profitable. So respectively, you are going to look at that search terms report, and you're going to decide which negative keywords to take out. So you start with the master list that I gave you, like the general get you started list. And then from there, as you spend, of course, you're going to see of your search terms, which phrases in there you should add as negative terms. What most people do, by the way, too, is they click on the search term and then they click on the button up above, add as negative search term. That does not, that's not the best ultimate way to use your data that you're paying. Half the value of what you're paying for is just the data on what doesn't work, so you can actually take advantage of what does work, but for the reasons I just said a second ago here. And so if you find the word free, right, and you're like, crap, yeah, I want to add that as a negative term, the search term might be like, if you sell tennis rackets, free tennis rackets, if you click that next to that search term, the checkbox, and then add it as a negative search term, then negative tennis balls or free tennis balls could later on can trigger your ad. And so and I do this, if you want to do it and get the most results the quickest and bleed money the least until it's profitable, or just in general, think of all the other free words that you can add at the same time. Respectively, once I see free and I get the idea, I'm going to go up to the search box or the filter box, and then I'm going to put search terms containing free, and I'm going to find all the free ones, and then everything, the literal search term, everything with free, I'll decide one by one if I should add it, but then I'm going to add free by itself. And then I'm also going to think of synonyms or words like free. Like if I know my products are high-end products, I'm then going to say, well, you know what? I should probably look for all the terms with inexpensive, cheap, and add all those at the same time as well. And then not only that, if you saw people were searching for, free tennis balls, I would do cheap tennis balls, inexpensive tennis balls, and then of course if another term in there is free tennis rackets, I'm going to do the same thing there. I'm going to do mix and match. So I could do inexpensive tennis rackets, cheap tennis rackets, and free tennis rackets. Because instead of waiting, in other words, till you find somebody actually physically typed in a word in the general range of what I don't want, and then blocking it then, I'm taking the information for ideas, and then I'm covering absolutely everything within that idea I can. You can even go to the thesaurus and look up what are synonyms for the word cheap, find them all and add all those, and play mix and match with those. This is how you get to profitability much faster in general, okay? So respectively though, this is where we get into the actual method here. What makes what I'm doing here different, and guarantee you're adding the right things and adding everything you can to get the most out of what negative keywords can provide for you. So knowing your average cost per conversion, or ROI, is for the overall time period, because at the bottom of the search terms report screen or menu, it'll tell you what your cost per conversion was, okay, overall between all search terms. You could filter now all search terms to see what words are generating what results from all past results, and if they're giving you results that are above where you need to be or below where you need to be. So if you find in this case, you're generating leads, it says that your leads are costing their cost per conversion $80 a lead. You have to be, because you did what I told you to do, and you did the math ahead of time to know exactly what you need to pay for a lead in order to be profitable after all your expenses, which is $40 a lead. It's very easy to get you from 80 to 40 using negative terms. Why? Because your search terms report, there will be terms like best tennis racket, going back to the tennis example here. Should I add best as a negative keyword? I'm not really the best. There'll be more often than not situations like that where you're not sure if you should add it or not add it, so then you'll just skip it because you're unsure. You take the word best and you go to filters, search term contains best, and then you can easily see all searches that triggered your ad there and where your ad got clicked on had best in it. And what's the summary cost per conversion for everything with the word best on it, or best somewhere in there? And so, respectively, if I need to get my cost per conversion down quickly, if everything with the word best in it did not get a cost per conversion that's $40, I'm just going to then write that down in the list of negative keywords that I'm going to add as actual negative keywords. If I don't have to get my cost per conversion down so quick, and I want to make sure at the end of this that I'm going to have the maximum volume possible. Maybe you set your standard of, if it's not $60 a conversion instead of $40, then you know, with that, as long as it's gotten at least a $60 or less, you add that. So you add all the search terms with best in it, or a different, maybe it's top tennis racket. So you'll see top tennis rackets. Now you'll search for, and actually filter your search terms report, contains top, and overall the cost per conversion for stuff with top in it is 60. So you say, okay, well, let's say it's $70. You know, $40 is where your break-even point is after all your expenses. So in that case, you can actually take the whole list of keywords with top in it, is what I would do. And then I would add all of those as negative keywords. Plus, I'm going to be looking for my own variants, like I was talking about before. Top, I'd add top as its own word when you do this automatically, plus all the other words with top in it. Okay, that'll get you the maximum results with this activity in the shortest amount of time. Okay, so respectively, it will take you a while to do this, but if you want to do it and get the most results the fastest here, it's not the, in other words, what I was mentioning before is people look at the whole search term as to see if they should add that as a negative or not. There's so many different ways that people search for your business, tens of thousands of ways. You're not going to ever get very far adding the actual search phrase by itself. You're going to have to find terms like the search term to be able to get what you want done quickly. And to really help yourself out, you're going to filter your search terms report by every individual word which are in that whole list of search terms in there. So top tennis racket, I'm going to do a filter and see what my cost per conversion is with everything with the word top in it. Okay, the cost per conversion is too high, I'll block that. Tennis, everything with the word tennis, what does that produce? Rackets, everything with the word rackets. And you get what I mean. Each word within each search term, you're going to independently isolate out by itself to see what its cost per conversion is all by itself. And so what you'll end up at the end of all of this is a whole list of words that if they're in some version of the search that can be made in my space, we don't want our ad to show up, in which we'll block them all. Again, we'll block the individual word itself, top, best, plus the entire search phrase with top or best in it if we're going to add those as negative keywords, because it'll work a little bit better overall. Okay? In general, that's what you do. And then, so you'll add those negative variants to your keyword list and apply it to all the campaigns. So if you don't use negative keyword lists, you should, because they're easy, they're convenient to use. Keep it simple here. You're going to make one single negative keywords list. You'll take all those individual words from all the search term and from the search terms report that you found that are not producing the cost per conversion you need and you want, and then that's what's going to be put into a search or a negative keywords list, and then that negative keywords list can apply to all your search campaigns, so that if you find the word that because originally we were looking at the search terms going back as long a time frame as we can, where the tracking is known and verified to work for all campaigns. And so when you find top from the word top, if it was in a search phrase somewhere, or a search term or search phrase, you want to call it that somewhere, it did not produce the cost per lead and cost per conversion I needed. So anytime someone searches for anything to do with top again, I'm going to block it no matter what campaign it's in. Therefore, your negative keywords list will be applied to all your search campaigns, and so that it also covers all your campaigns. So you think you get the general idea here. Now, you're going to then follow this up to make this work even better for you. If you're going to do all the research, checking each word individually by itself to see if you should remove it or not, once you've added your negative keywords, go to your keyword menu where you have all your keywords you're bidding on, and then use the search filter there and search each individual word that you just before in the previous step added as negative keywords, and see if there's any keywords with the word top in it, and make sure you get all those keywords blocked. And if you filter on this using the search function, you filter by top, it'll have all the keywords that have top in it, and then you can select all and click pause. You could do that, and you'll have to do that for each negative keyword that you have there, at least for the individual phrases. If you, like I said before, you're going to block top and then any other word with top in it, respectively, at least when you're going to step number 5 and you're going to pause keywords, anything with the single word top in it, that'll get you covered. You don't have to search for every single keyword, just the single word negative keywords that you're going to add that you found from the previous step. So that'll get you covered in terms of totally blocking everything to do with individual words that don't produce an overall value to your company as much as possible, or more than just adding the negative keywords itself. You're really going to block everything, making sure to pause any keywords that also have those words in it. But respectively, if you don't pause all the keywords and you don't do that last step I gave you, what you'll ultimately have is negative keyword conflicts. In the alert section of your account, it'll say this keyword's blocked because there's negative keywords blocking that. And so you have to go ahead and make that decision or an action to pause those keywords that contain negative keywords that you added on step number 4. So you have to do that anyway. Once you're all done with that, the last step is you're going to run a keyword diagnosis report as the last step to check for any final conflicts. So whereas if you paused any keywords that will likely, or that contain individual words that were in your negative keyword list that you just made, basically whatever keywords you have left shouldn't be blocked in any way by the negative keywords that you had. A lot of people don't, though, do this. They don't go in and run a keyword diagnosis report to see if there actually is any blockages, because sometimes you'll accidentally add, or just in general, you could have made a mistake and there still could be some blockages of your keywords that you have in there not being able to run because there's a negative keyword, and it's just good practice, I feel, to go in, because what the keyword diagnosis report does is it shows you if your keyword it will show up and eligible to show up on Google or not. And if you have a negative keyword blocking that keyword, then you can pause it. Respectively, if anything else, it'll help you as you're analyzing what your bids should be for every keyword later on, since you should also do that. Which keywords you have to worry about adjusting the bids on and figuring out and calculating what your bid should be to deliver conversions at the cost per conversion you want. You won't have to worry about calculating it for certain words if you're just making sure that if something should have been paused, even though it's blocked, it is paused, so you don't have to, it's not in your way, basically. Respectively, if we go a step further, every 90 days I'm doing this. I used enhanced CPC bidding for all my search campaigns, by the way. And because it gives me the most control, I'm not going to have a lot of wasted spend, especially up front. But every 90 days, I'm going to use what is called a bid modification formula. And I'm going to adjust the bid either up or down based upon each keyword in my list producing above average cost per conversion or below average cost per conversion in our account. It could be whatever our target cost per conversion is will dictate how much my bid is going to be lowered or raised. But respectively, that'll get you the rest of the way of getting the target cost per conversion you want. So if the negative keywords don't get you all the way there and doing that, of course you're going to have to keep going back every month to do this negative keyword thing, or every 90 days. On top of that, the keywords that you have left, you're going to set a precise bid to get you the most clicks at the cost per conversion that should and could be generated for that keyword without overpaying. And so, respectively, the higher you bid, the more times out of 100 your ad will show up for that keyword. The lower you bid, the less. Obviously, the lower you bid, the less it'll cost you for a conversion. And since each keyword has a different potential of what it can convert at for your brand, you basically are trying to bid as much as you can, while still generating the cost per conversion that you're looking for. That'll get you the most sales from all your keywords and your search campaigns overall at the cost per conversion you want it at. So adding the negative keywords the way that I said, that makes sure keywords have the highest potential as possible, because it weeds out all the noise from what a keyword is set up to generate, to have what, searches, from that keyword will trigger the ad, and you basically get out all the waste from that keyword. Once you've done that, the keyword still will have its own potential. It may convert 3 times as much with the negative keywords than not, but if, even beyond that, you still want to decide if you need to be bidding more to really, really double, triple down on that keyword or not, and bid less using the bid modification. A lot of people wing this and they just guess. No, use a bid modification formula and statistically find out, is this keyword producing 47% above average? Yes. Okay, my bid should be plus 47% there. That's what you're looking to do here. I would do that, adjust the bids on each keyword. Once you've done that, I don't actually adjust the bids based upon me looking for a target cost per conversion right away. I either go up in bids if my keyword's producing above average for what the average of the account is on all keywords already, or below. If it's producing below average cost per conversion, I bid less, so that the overall cost per conversion will be similar across the board. Then I'll go ahead and at the end of the day, once I've done that, if I'm still, let's say 20% more than I need to be in terms of cost per conversion, then I'll select all keywords and reduce the bid on all keywords then by 20%. Then I'll have my cost per conversion I'm looking for to be profitable. Why? Because that's the easiest, or more so, I don't care about easy, but best way to get the most conversions from all my keywords that's possible to get at my cost per conversion by, obviously weeding out parts of certain keywords that aren't going to be productive statistically, and then of your keywords, promoting each keyword at its maximum clip to get the most sales out of that keyword or most leads out of that keyword, and then from there, downgrade all the keywords at once to be able to get as most conversions as you can out of each keyword, even with and already promoting certain keywords more or less based upon its historical performance, then telling Google, I need to pay 20% less for what you're giving me in general, otherwise I can't have my cost per conversion, and then that'll for sure get you the rest of the way. So, and like I said, get you the most, sales out of Google ads as possible with the search campaign in general. That's my process. So anyway, now you have a very systematic way to see if you're adding negative keywords the right way. Is a negative keyword, can it be added where you're not sure? Instead of just skipping over it, you can actually see if you should, which means you'll have more negative keywords. You're going to have less negative keywords, where it doesn't happen obviously as much, but you'll make less mistakes adding them where you shouldn't have added them. And because there's volatility in your account every time you add negative keywords, you're not going to have to experience as much as that, because you're going to know every single one you add from now on had a net benefit, what the benefit was before you even applied it. So anyway, that's everything in a nutshell. I have a ton of other videos on this channel about other PPC money-making strategies. If you want to make a bunch of money with PPC, you should definitely check some of my other videos out. I have a blog at guaranteedppc.com/blog with step-by-step instructions on how to build campaigns that are basically guaranteed to work, and which I use for our clients here. If you like information along those lines, it's a little bit more detailed. You can find it there on how to build campaigns that work. If you have any questions about negative keywords, in particular, I guess, it doesn't have to be just this, regarding the strategy I used here, leave me a comment down below. I get back to every single person who leaves me a comment on this channel within a day or two time, personally. And though I appreciate you watching the video, and I hope to see you on my next video where I go through another great money-making PPC strategy for you to review as well. See you then.